Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Political Brown Kid here. New day, new topic to discuss. And I guess what I want to discuss is, I guess, what happened over this past weekend. And I don't know when I'm going to put this video out. I'm going to try to get it out there as soon as possible. But the weekend that I'm talking about is the weekend of March 24th, 24th, 25th. That Friday, Saturday, around that time frame. And it's just about, I guess, this white female manosphere. I guess that's the term that the people are using. Um, Influencer named Just Pearly Things. I guess she done got herself into some hot water. I've actually seen a couple of her videos. Don't watch too many of them. I watch pieces because, be honest with you, her videos were just way too long. And so I just don't watch all of that type of content. But I do watch the shorter summarized clips. And basically, for those who don't know, this white female vlogger who's in the manosphere, basically teaching women, or she's an advocate for femininity and more traditional women, and she's kind of a antagonist, should I say, of feminism, or she's opposed to feminism. Let me say she's opposed to feminism, um, and or modern women, and what she did over the past, I guess last week, was basically she had a white, I guess white supremacist. I don't know what the guy is, but basically I guess I don't know if he's exactly a white supremacist. I don't know who this guy Nick Fuentes is, but she had this guy on the show. Apparently he doesn't go over well with other people, individuals, people, they've, I guess, labeled him as a racist. And he did express some racist stuff on her show. So basically, just to summarize it for you all, she had him on the show, and she had, I guess, another female who, and apparently he's of an Italian background. I'm assuming he's an Italian background. Let me say that because of the conversation between him and another Italian female, because the Italian female is apparently dating a black guy, and she was actually the one between her, Just Pearly Things, and this guy Nick Fuentes. She was the only one between her and Just Pearly Things to kind of, denounce this guy. And then the guy came back at her basically saying, well, you're dating a black guy, so, we Italians don't claim you. And that was his response to the Italian female saying, as an Italian, we don't claim you. And so he came back with that comment, like, you're dating a black guy, so Italians don't claim you. And they kind of had a little back and forth. Just Pearly Things sat there quietly. Another thing that Just Pearly Things said on the show was, I guess, her and this guy Nick Fuentes, and this is earlier in the show, they were just talking about being late and not on time. He was kind of talking about, well, being an Italian, I run late, he kind of had a little joke running joke about that, about not being, prompt to things. And then that caused her to kind of say something in the response to, I'm trying to get my Africans something. And it kind of, bringing it, and she was kind of making a point, or in regards to, Africans and time. And of course, we as black people, if you're black, you know that we always talk about blacks and CPT. We came up with that term, CPT, which is colored people's time. And we have a running joke in our community about that. So that was the second thing that kind of ticked people off. And then the third thing, which I thought was the biggest, was her and this guy Nick Fuentes. Again, she's talking to a racist now, or at least an assumed. Let me just say that, an assumed, because I don't know this guy's background. But she's talking to this guy apparently that other people know about, that consider him to be racist or prejudiced, whichever term you want to use. And I'll kind of clear that up in a minute about racism and prejudice, and the distinction between that. But she started dipping her toes into, I guess, the movie roots and talking. And then she kind of, and if you've watched her, response to, and her kind of mea culpa to this whole video that she did with this guy. But in the original video with Nick Fuentes interview, she kind of said that racism, that the movie Roots, and the author said he made it out to be worse than what it was. and he embellished. I think that was the word that she used. He embellished the severity of it. But she kind of tried to come back in her My Bad video and basically say she was talking about something else. She knows that racism was harsh, but she was talking about the system of racism. To me, that was the most detrimental part of that. And I'm just going to kind of go through some of these points here. But the purpose of this video that I'm going to get to, and I'm going to jump back into the Just Pearly Things, and I'm going to talk about someone else, my favorite person that I like to talk about, and I'll bring that character up in a minute. But the point that I want to stress in bringing this up is that this woman, Just Pearly Things, I think that she rose to stardom. Like, her channel just took off. I think she said in her, if you watch her apology video, she has like 1.1 million subscribers, and she was only trying to strive for 100,000 in the first year. Like, I mean, the first year, I mean, you know how long it takes people to build up a channel? And she said that she hit 1.1 million. She's at 1.1 million subscribers. If you watch her show, and I've seen a few clips, her show is really built on, again, it's about really the manosphere, red pill, whatever you want to call that community. I'm not really well versed in, a lot of the vernacular that they use. But she's really, dealing in love, relationships, femininity, modern women, or whatever they're talking about, just in love and relationships, men, women, and so forth. There's a lot of Black manosphere participants that appear on her show, and there are a lot of Black people, period, that will appear on her podcast or YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. And so a lot of people kind of was, I guess, trying to call her a culture vulture, so to speak. But then also, too, you have to look at it, a lot of the other Black YouTubers latched on to her, and they kind of embraced her, and appearing on her platform. They're collaborating with her. One person that I can say, and I've watched a rebuttal video from him, is O'Shea Duke Jackson. And what I'll say with him is the one thing that I do like that he said in his video is he says, I collaborate with only Black people because that's the world or the realm that I live in. I make content geared towards African Americans, so that's who I collaborate with. And I'm bringing that up right now as a point because what I'm going to say, it kind of sets the foundation. What a lot of Black people do with some of these white celebrities, like whether it be Eminem, whether it be whomever, they'll latch on to a white person because they think that white person's down for the culture. They're down for the cause. And ultimately, that white person is going to do something, and they're going to they're going to show their true colors. It almost always happens. It almost always happens. Only white person that you haven't seen that happen to as of yet is probably Rachel Dolezal. And that's because she thinks she's Black. I swear to goodness, I can't make this stuff up. I can't. But if you look at these white celebrities, they try to live in our world. Even Bill Clinton. If you look at what Bill Clinton, every Black person embraced Bill Clinton, called him the first Black president. And as soon as a Black man ran against his wife, what did he say? He got offended. Number one, he knew that Hillary was in trouble too. So, once you start feeling vulnerable, then he started saying stuff like, well, back in the day, he wouldn't be able to run against my wife. He wouldn't even be able to be allowed to run. Now, of course, he wasn't trying to be totally detrimental, but you start seeing certain things in true colors come out. And the same thing happened with this Just Pearly Things. Mind you, it was an all-white cast, and now she's sitting up there with, this guy, Nick Fuentes, and I'm not trying to say she shouldn't have had him on the show, but now she's getting relaxed. She's starting to tell Black jokes. She's starting to kind of be a slavery denier, even in her comments, even though she's saying it didn't come off well and her words didn't come off well, and the editing kind of made it look bad. But there were a lot of things that she said where as soon as you start letting these white people get comfortable with you, and as soon as you embrace them and co-sign for them, because I've seen Melanie King on her show. I've seen this another Black guy. He's come out and done a video now and said that he talked to Just Pearly Things, and he said that he's no longer going to collaborate with her. But the thing is, the die is cast. You've already collaborated with this white woman. You've already helped her build up her channel by you appearing on her and exposing her to your viewers, thus giving her more subscribers, more viewers, it's co-signing for her. So the die is already cast. If Just Pearly Things does not make another dime off of her videos, she's probably going to be okay if she hasn't gone on a crackhead binge and blown all of her YouTube money. I think that she'll be okay. And so this is what I'm trying to say is that we continually support these white people and ultimately they do something that shows you where they truly stand. And that leads me to, before I go into that, I'd just like to say this in regards to the Just Pearly Things situation is that, to be honest with you, I'm going to say this. I didn't think that her making the colored people's time, or she didn't say colored people's time, but her making the joke about Africans and being on time. Personally, I didn't take offense to that when I was watching it in the video. And the reason why I didn't is because, number one, we joke about it. And we joke about it all the time. And, I mean, I don't joke about it. I don't really joke about it. I don't joke about it at all. I think a lot of people just run late, period. And that's just because I'm a stickler for time. So I'm usually beating other people, whether they be white, black, Asian, Hispanic. I'm usually beating other people to whatever meetings or time slots that I'm supposed to be in. But that's just been the running joke when I was little. CPT, colored people's time. And she was talking to the black person when she looked away from Nick Fuentes, looked at the black guy and said, "I'm trying to get my Africans," something like that. And so I didn't really take offense to it, to be honest with you, because in this world nowadays where you see a lot of people swirling, see a lot of black people dating white people, you see this particularly black women now, they latching on to these white men, and you see black men dating white people. Black people don't want to be in love with black people, and you just see all of this swirling. I didn't take offense to the joke, to be honest with you. Now, the other thing that I did take offense, really the only thing I took offense to, was the whole her comments in regards to slavery. I just felt as though she was engaged in a conversation with a supposed racist. Now, like I said, I don't know anything about the guy. And she was just really nonchalantly talking about, racism, or she was kind of saying that it was overblown, slavery is overblown. And the guy, the author of Roots, or the movie, I'm assuming she was talking about, I can only assume that she was talking about, oh Lord, his name slips my mind right off the top, I guess because I'm doing this video and I'm recording myself, but anyway, you know who I'm talking about. James Earl Jones played him in the movie. But I'm assuming she's talking about him. And if that was the case, she just kind of used that as justification to say that he embellished. He was basically saying that slavery was embellished. And basically she's trying to minimize the severity of racism. And she's doing that with a person who has a racist agenda or background, supposedly, because I don't know anything about him. So that was the thing that I really kind of perked my eyes up in it, but it also perked my eyes up too that this is the moment that she doesn't have any black person on the panel. It's just her and two white people, a white female of Italian descent and a white male who's supposedly, this Nick Fuentes, who's supposedly of Italian descent. And so that was the thing that caught my eye. Now, I'm going to say this, and again, I'm going to kind of shift gears and talk about another individual, because again, this is what I'm saying. When we co-sign for white people, it was co-signed like with Eminem. They co-signed for Eminem, and then all of a sudden those tapes came up, right? Those tapes came up of him using the N-word and, kind of talking about black people, and Benzino exposed it, but because people hated Benzino and because everybody loved Eminem, they just said, well, Benzino has an agenda to destroy, and people backed Eminem on that. But it didn't take, but sometimes, okay, you can't look at where the messenger came from. You may not like Benzino, but the fact is, these are the tapes. And I'm not trying to say anything about Eminem. Maybe I am. I don't know. I mean, he seems like an okay person, but I don't know this guy's background. But this is what happens. But the other person that I was really going to talk about was the person that really perks my ears up. And if you ever look at my Twitter account, and if you ever, listen to my other tapes that I make, is really Bill Maher. Bill Maher is the classic, and probably this Just Pearly Things, she may fit into this category too. I don't have enough content on her, but Bill Maher is the classic liberal racist. And before I get into that, I said I was gonna talk about the word racist and prejudice. And I just want to provide a distinction because a lot of times a lot of people miss that, or they get the two mixed up. When you're talking, if you're talking to like an older, more civil rights black person, a person who's using hardcore definitions, for example, I'm going to say Claud Anderson. If you ever listen to Claud Anderson speak, or you ever listen to other people who are really into civil rights advocacy, they'll tell you that racism, the word racism means, you have to have, there are certain attributes that have to be in place in order to qualify as racism. And they'll tell you that black people cannot be racist because they don't fit the qualifications. A part of that qualification is you have to be in a person that's in a position of power to deny someone else the opportunity to advance themselves. That's what racism is. A lot of people just think that they get it mixed in with prejudice, which is you hating another particular individual because of their background and because of their skin color. That, skin color, or whether it's sexual orientation, those are prejudices. But racism, you can have racism without that element, because racism really is usually a term that you kind of comply. And if you listen to Claud Anderson, explains it a lot better than I can, because racism was a system, and Claud Anderson goes into it how the other races were having races, back in the days of Christopher Columbus and such. It was a race to, exploit all of the minerals and or riches of, throughout the world on other continents. So that's how that term came about. It was a race between, these other cultures. So that's how the term racist comes to be. If you, again, I'm kind of screwing it up. Let's go listen to Claud Anderson. He'll give you a more articulate meaning of that. But I'm bringing that up to say this, and getting back to Bill Maher, because Bill Maher fits the same typical pattern that this Just Pearly Things does. When Bill Maher first started out, he had all of these people on the show. Chris Rock was on there. I think he had Jay-Z on the show at one point in time. Killer Mike was a frequent person that came on there back in the day, and Killer Mike, actually, out of all of them, was probably the more articulate one and could talk politics and could hang it with the rest of the panel. And also him and Bill Maher supposedly, quote unquote, friends, but I don't see how. I don't see how he's friends with Bill Maher. And I'm bringing all that up to say this, is that when you watch Bill Maher's show, now again, his platform wasn't built off of black people because he had a lot of different people on his show. But again, black people co-signed for the show. He had a lot of black people on the show. Who's that smart joker that uses all the big ass words? Sounds like he's in goddamn prison. The guy that teaches at Princeton or Yale or whatever. I can't think of his name. Cornel West. Cornel West is a continuous advocate of his, who sometimes it's just like, it's ad nauseum. It seems like he kisses Bill Maher's ass, especially when Bill Maher got in trouble for using the house N-word, and then Ice Cube tried to dig in him, and then you saw Bill Maher roll his eyes because Bill Maher doesn't want to be corrected. He thinks that he's above reproach. And then he did the show after he used that house N-word term, and that was his Just Pearly Things moment. He had his good friend Cornel West come on the show, and he had a one-on-one with Cornel West, and Cornel West just basically admonished him and washed away all of his sins from that bad joke. But talking about Bill Maher, the reason why I'm trying to say is, as far as racist in the Claud Anderson definition, is because when you watch Bill Maher, if you watch his platform lately, he has so shifted from being a hardcore liberal to really, you could say he's slightly conservative. He really does lean that way, or definitely a centrist. And the thing that I noticed about Bill Maher is he had a rant that he did on his show about fat people, and he used every derogatory term he could towards fat people. But guess who was absent from that panel when he did that monologue? Killer Mike. who is obviously overweight. Killer Mike is overweight, severely overweight. And I'm not trying to say that to be cruel, but it's just obvious. But the thing is, you can have your monologue rant, but you don't have a heavy set person on that panel because you're scared to do your rant in front of them. But that's not the racist part about it. That's just going to show you how two-faced Bill Maher is. But I'm just saying, if you watch his show lately, as of late, ever since he's come out of COVID, he doesn't have that many people on the panel anymore. Most of the times he's cut down on the black people that's on the panel. You'll see Neil deGrasse Tyson on there sometimes, and you'll see that black guy that was in the security, he does security stuff. He used to be on CNN. You'll see him on there. But he doesn't really have too many black people on there. And a lot of the topics that he talks about, it's kind of against black agenda. Like, this is the second time, like, Bill Maher is all for, when COVID happened, I guess he was all for saving and paying trillions of dollars to people during COVID time because everybody needed the money. He was all for certain bailouts when it's all inclusive. But as soon as someone starts talking about reparations for black people and giving them the justice that they want in this country, Bill Maher starts talking a totally different tune. He just did it 3 weeks ago. He went on his whole San Francisco rant about San Francisco experimenting with reparations payments and $5 million and how much it was going to cost the citizens of San Francisco. And then he even mentioned San Francisco wasn't even a slave state, which I agree. But what is it to you, Bill Maher? He's gone on other rants about other black topics, particularly when you start dipping into the woke culture. He'll point out certain things and ramblings, that affect black people. So this is all I'm just trying to prove is that these are your friends. These are the people that you elevate up. They'll ride with you until they get to the point where they want to get to. And then once they get there, then their true agenda comes out. Just like with this Just Pearly Things. Just Pearly Things. And now that she got caught, she had her, her white moment, her white racist moment. And now that she's had that and she's seen the backlash and she knows that she's going to probably lose viewership. Because everybody apologizes because of monetary reasons. Come on now, let's just face it. If she wasn't going to face any probably backlash, if she wasn't going to lose any coins out of this from advertisement, sponsorship, from whether it be affiliate I don't know what it is she's doing, whatever her income streams are. If she wasn't going to feel backlash from that, I don't think, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think that she'd be backtracking. Just my personal opinion. But again, these are the things that you do, when you have people like Melanie King and that other guy, I don't even know his name, but I'm not trying to say that they're bad people. I'm not trying to call Melanie King a bad person. I'm not calling that brother, the light-skinned brother that went on the panel too, I'm not calling him bad, or any other blacks that went on the panel. All I'm just trying to say is that this is a lesson learned for those type of people. And you need to take the O'Shea Duke Jackson route and say, hey, look, I'm going to collaborate with my own people. Because now you had this black guy, the black guy that was on the panel, the light-skinned black guy who wears glasses. I don't know his name. I don't know his channel handle. I keep forgetting it, but he operates in the manosphere. He came out with a video denouncing Just Pearly Things. And in that video, then he had to name off he named off about 5 or 6 black females channels that you should go and support in, as opposed to staying with Just Pearly Things. Now he wants to promote these other black women. He should have been promoting them all along. He could have been collaborating with them all along. He could have reached out to them all along. And maybe he did. Maybe it's the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he did reach out to them and they said, no, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm a lone wolf. But again, you want to take a trip to London. I had people talking about, everybody was excited. And I think even Melanie King, when she was on the panel talking about, she was excited to be in London. You should be excited to be in Africa. Why aren't you excited to go to Africa? Go talk to the brother that's over in Africa. He does the show and he always says, go black to Africa. I forget his name. He does good work in Africa promoting the continent of Africa, promoting the countries of Africa, promoting African culture and trying to get our people over to Africa. Get excited about a trip to Africa. Why are you excited about a trip to London? Why? I'm just curious about that. Why are you excited about a trip to London? You should be excited about a trip to Africa to visit your own people. But again, I'm just trying to give you guys a lesson learned. Stop trying to promote these white people, because eventually you build them up and they show their true colors, or they leave you behind. So once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. Just wanted to drop this on you. Hopefully you'll like the video. Hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you'll leave comments, and hopefully you'll tell your friends about it. Share the video as well. So this is Political Brown Kid. Take care.